Gray stood over the goblin's corpse, its sharp eyes scanning the remains. Baru observed with approval, recognizing the creature's growing skill in battle. With continued effort, it would soon become a valuable asset to the young monarch. Letting out a low growl, Gray responded instinctively. Baru urged it to consume everything, ensuring no trace was left behind. Suho watched with mild amusement, noting how quickly Gray had adapted. At some point, its name had even shifted from Gray to Grr without him realizing it. A notification appeared signaling that Gray had accumulated enough experience from hunting magic beasts. Half of the earned experience would now be transferred to the player. Suho's eyes widened in surprise as he felt his experience increase the moment Gray finished its hunt. He turned to Baru, puzzled. This wasn't something he had encountered before. Was this a new feature of the system? Baru pondered for a moment before responding. While he wasn't entirely certain, he believed it functioned similarly to how the experience gained by shadow soldiers was transferred to his king. Suho considered the implications. It was like a party system in a game. Experience points were not shared, but with a 50% reduction. Even so, the idea of gaining experience automatically without direct combat was groundbreaking. Baru suggested that Gray should continue hunting in the area, seeing it as an efficient way to grow stronger. Just then, a status window appeared before Suho. Daily Quest. Shadow Dungeon Cleaning. Defeat 100 goblins. Defeat 10 goblin decurions. Defeat 1 goblin centurion. Suho examined the quest details. A daily quest that required him to hunt goblins, this system, was beginning to feel more and more like a game. Suho pondered the implications of the quest. If a quest existed, there had to be a reward, and, since it was labeled as a daily quest, did that mean he could claim rewards every single day? Baru observed the situation and concluded that the system likely intended for this entire area to fully integrate into Suho's domain. Suho glanced at the vast expanse before him, realizing the challenge of locating 100 goblins in such a large area. Without hesitation, he summoned his inventory and retrieved an item. Item: Horn Flute. A horn flute used by goblin centurions to call for their subordinates. Examining it, he recalled obtaining it from slaying goblins earlier. A thought crossed his mind. Perhaps this item could make the hunt significantly easier. Suho activated the horn flute, its eerie sound echoing through the shadowy dungeon. Almost instantly, the ground trembled with the sound of countless approaching footsteps. A massive horde of goblins emerged from the darkness, their glowing eyes locked onto him. Suho remained unfazed. This was exactly what he had anticipated. Baru observed the scene with admiration. His young monarch had cleverly used the flute to summon his enemies rather than wasting time searching for them. Suho clenched his fist, channeling raw power into a devastating punch. His burning gaze locked onto a goblin whose face twisted grotesquely from the force of the impact. Without hesitation, he followed up with another strike, his movements precise and lethal. He exhaled, unimpressed. Defeating goblins had lost its thrill, but since he had to eliminate them, in large numbers, efficiency was key. Lifting the horn flute once more, he blew into it, summoning another wave of creatures from the shadows. Then, without pause, he used a second flute, amplifying the call. The ground quaked as a flood of goblins rushed toward him. Suho smirked. This should be enough. Raising his hand, he uttered a single word. Arise. The fallen goblins trembled before their corpses darkened and reformed into shadow soldiers. At his command, Gray and the newly summoned goblin shadows charged into battle, cutting through the relentless horde. A notification appeared. Daily quest completed. Goblins, 107, 100. Goblin Decurion, 10, 10. Goblin Centurion, 1, 1. Gray was shocked to rewrite as third person only, no dialogue. After 3 hours of relentless hunting, Gray collapsed to the ground, exhausted. A notification appeared, confirming the completion of the daily quest, Shadow Dungeon. cleaning and prompting the reward collection. However, as Suho examined the system, he noticed something unusual. Despite having met the required number of kills, the quest counter continued to increase. A sense of curiosity stirred within him as he analyzed the situation. Rather than stopping, the system seemed to be tracking additional kills beyond the initial goal. Recognizing the potential for a hidden mechanic, Suho decided to push further, determined to uncover whatever secret lay behind the anomaly. Gray, still catching his breath, looked on in shock at Suho's relentless pursuit of the unknown. The quest counter continued to rise beyond its original requirements. Quest notice: Daily quest: Goblins, 200, 100. Goblin Decurion, 20, 10. Goblin Centurion, 2, Tior 1. Gray, utterly drained from the prolonged battle, stood trembling. His once lustrous fur had paled slightly, and his breathing was ragged. A notification appeared before Suho, signaling the completion of a hidden quest. Notice: Hidden quest: Shadow Dungeon. Cleaning has been completed. You have received a reward for completing a quest. Check your reward. As he accepted the completion, a new reward screen emerged. Quest reward notice: You will receive the following rewards. 1. Status recovery. Tuit. Stat points. +3.3. Blessed random box. 4. Cursed random box. A prompt appeared, asking whether to accept all rewards. Suho chose to accept the first reward, and immediately, his body was fully restored. It felt as if he had leveled up, making him realize how useful this effect could be if saved for critical battles. Next, he accepted the stat points, understanding that gaining them would only become more difficult as his level increased. The daily quest rewards were proving to be a reliable way to grow stronger each day. Now he had to make a choice between the two random boxes. Blessed random box grants an item the player wants. Cursed random box grants an item the player needs. Suho pondered the decision. An item he wanted might turn out to be useless, while an item he needed could be something unexpected or even undesirable. Since his wants were too broad at the moment, he decided to trust the system and selected the cursed random box. You have obtained the item, Vulcan's Horn. Suho examined the newly obtained gauntlets with amazement. Having relied on transforming shadow soldiers into weapons, he had been looking for a separate weapon for himself. This was perfect. The gauntlet. The gauntlets boasted a 30% physical damage increase, and he speculated that the value might rise the more demons he hunted. Though they felt slightly heavy, he decided to compensate by investing all his available stat points into strength, increasing it from 35 to 43. With that settled, his next goal was to further enhance his weapon through battle. Suddenly, a new notification appeared. Quest notice: There has been a change in your companion's state. The loyalty of companion. Gray has changed from admiration to fear. Gray, exhausted from relentless hunting, seemed visibly shaken. Beru reminded him that Gray was not a shadow soldier with limitless stamina. Realizing his oversight, Suho decided to call it for the day, mentioning that he had something to take care of outside the dungeon. You have exited the shadow dungeon. Stepping back into the real world, Suho recalled the information he had gathered. The guild associated with the Hyena Guild was called Reaper. That would be his next target. Beru confirmed the name with a nod. Suho pondered where to begin his investigation when his phone suddenly buzzed. A message flashed across the screen, pleading for his help. Meanwhile, at the Seoul staging field, Danger Zone, Hyung anxiously waited. Today was an important dungeon expedition, but none of the haulers had shown up. Frustration settled in as he suspected they had abandoned their duties for a night of drinking. Upon Suho's arrival, he quickly assessed the situation and decided to assist. Grateful for the help, Hyung handed him a hazmat suit. Unlike miners, who worked safely in cleared areas of the dungeon, haulers had to follow the strike squad closely, removing the corpses of defeated magic beasts. This dangerous task required constant vigilance, as unexpected attacks were always a possibility. Additionally, many of the beasts' bodies contained hazardous materials, spines, venom, or toxic secretions that could cause serious injury. The hazmat suit served as essential protection for those handling the remains in such treacherous conditions. The strike team arrived, surveying the area with displeasure. Their leader immediately noticed the unusually small hauling team and questioned the situation. Hyung, still flustered, quickly explained that the haulers scheduled for the day were all missing. His response was met with frustration. The strike team's leader reprimanded him, reminding him of the contract obligations. The Reaper Guild had been paid a hefty entrance fee, and such negligence was unacceptable. With a sharp warning, he threatened to report them to the Hunter Association if they failed to keep up. A formal complaint would mean they'd never work as haulers again. Hyung, sweating under the pressure, hastily assured the team they would do their best and pleaded for their trust. The strike team's leader scoffed in frustration, voicing his disdain for irresponsibility before stepping into the dungeon. Hyung, still fuming, leaned toward Suho and whispered, urging him to teach them a lesson using in his summons. Suho remained silent, his sharp gaze fixed on the departing strike team. His mind quickly to analyze their formation: 4 D-rank mage-type hunters, 4 D-rank combat-type dot hunters, and 1 C-rank healer. The one who had shouted moments ago appeared to be the dot healer, and likely the squad leader. His thoughts drifted back to recent events: the cursed random box that had granted him an item he needed, the demon-devouring weapon, Vulcan's horn. Then, there was T.A. Lim Hyung, who had coincidentally contacted him at that exact moment. And finally, the Reaper Guild, which managed this field-type dungeon. None of this felt like mere coincidence. Something felt off. The pieces were aligning too well, as if he had been led here for a reason. A creeping unease settled in his chest. Something dangerous was about to unfold.